All right, all right, baby. We're back with another episode. We got Matt here. We got my boy Matt.
Your boys.
You got your boy Riley here. It's FTMB. And I promise you this time, I do have a beer. I didn't let our sponsors down now, Matt.
Everyone's very impressed that you follow the basic rules of our podcast.
Yeah, please tweet at us and tell me how much you're impressed with my ability to keep up with our namesake. All right.
What are you drinking?
I am drinking a Rheingeist Squirrel Nut Brown Ale. If you're not familiar, or maybe you're nut with only one T and no K's. So.
That has some squirrel nut in there.
If you're not familiar with Rheingeist, it's a Cincinnati brewery. They're pretty popular here in Ohio. I think almost everybody. It's very readily available throughout the entire state. I don't know. Have we ever found it outside of Ohio? I'm not sure. Email us and tell us. If
I don't know, but Rheingeist, I think it's pretty big.
Yeah,
so
they got big
Midwest,
quick. They got big
least.
Quickly. Yeah. I remember their Truth IPA.
Truth.
Yeah, the Truth IPA really put them on the map. But I was in the grocery store the other day, and I saw this new one, Squirrel Nut Brown Ale, and I hadn't seen that before, and I was, interested in, a different flavor from them, a little lighter flavor. It's only 4.8% alcohol by volume, and I have to say I really, really like it. I'm usually not a nut brown guy, and I actually bought this for my girlfriend. To drink, and then I actually ended up liking it a ton too.
And you drank all of them, and she got none.
Yeah, well, it's in my fridge now, so that's if it stays in your fridge for over a week, it's then yours.
That's true. That is the rule.
But
now let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
So how is it for today? So today in Ohio.
Oh, it's a beautiful,
nice.
It's a beautiful,
it feels like spring.
60-something degree day. All the flowering trees are in bloom. It's warm
that
out.
Sounds pretty.
It was a great one for today. It's very like the nut. Like usually, sometimes with like nutty beers, I don't smell it as much. But this is like as soon as your nose gets close to it, it's like you can smell all those nutty flavors and maybe a bit of like maple too, like sweet.
Okay.
Toffee notes, perhaps. But it's really tasty. I was drinking it outside before we started this, and I was really enjoying it. I liked it a lot, and I usually kind of like the higher alcohol beers or the hoppier beers. This is an easy drink, so great for a summer day. I would recommend it to anybody who maybe isn't so much into like those stronger beers, and this is a great one just to kind of chill with outside.
I like it. Yeah. I like it.
What about you, Matt? What are you drinking?
I am drinking Gimbergen. It is a strong beer from Belgium, and for whatever reason, it's like fairly common in Spain. I think it's because it's like the brewery was bought out by Carlsberg or another like big like InBev or something, and so they have better distribution. But it's good. As far as like the beers that you can buy at supermarkets here, this is it's 6.5% alcohol.
Okay.
So it's one of the higher alcohols, and the beer is like pretty cheap across the board. So as far as like the alcohol that you're getting for the price, this is one of the best ones.
And I don't think you can get that in America, can you?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Well, what's the weather like what's the weather like in Madrid today?
It was nice. So it was about like 70s, but a little bit off and on. Like sometimes the sun would be out, then the clouds would roll in for a little bit and maybe sprinkle rain for like 5 seconds and then go away and be sunny again. But so as far as like sunny days go, this wouldn't be my first choice. I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
But now here it's nighttime. I mean, it's almost 10:30, so this is a good nighttime beer. Put me to sleep right after this. Hopefully, hopefully not during.
I totally forgot that. Yeah, it's real late over there for you.
But it's a little sweet, some caramel, some fruity flavors, but a good hop malt balance.
All right,
It's
cool.
good.
So
it's good, man.
Our European...
That's my review.
That's good, man. That's good, man. That's good. All right, so that's our beer segment. Let's move into the music. And this is one I know I have been anticipating, and I'm almost certain that you have as well. It's one of kind of our staple bands for the past few years. And that's Hopalong's Bark Your Head Off, Dog. Highly anticipated third album.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you know the timeline? Because it's been, 2 years since their previous
It's 3 years
album?
now. Yeah, I started listening to them when Painted Shut came out in 2015, towards the tail end of 2015. So it's maybe not been a full 3 years.
May 4th, 2015. So
wow, it actually was 3 years. Okay, I guess I didn't pick them up until the end of 2015 then.
Okay.
I actually remember it when we're at Hume's going away party is kind of when I was really into them. So if that gives you some time frame.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's been quite some time, like you said, exactly 3 years almost, and they did not disappoint. It was a 3 years well spent for them.
Yeah,
and
this is like kind of a consistent thing for them. Like they take time in between their albums, at least. The first one, their first studio album, Get Disowned,
2012,
came out in March 2012. So it's 3 years between each one. Like they definitely put time into it, and that comes across in the music, I would say for sure.
Yeah, it does not feel rushed. The music is always unique through each album. Does not feel rushed, does not feel like pushed out without any thought. And each album has its own identity, really.
And what's the identity for this one then? Bark Your Head Off.
Yeah, so that's a good transition. I remember when my first initial listen, I was a little, like, I wouldn't say disappointed, but like a little sad that it wasn't as hard as Painted Shut, because I really love Frances's voice, and I love her like ability to kind of emote and scream, like her kind of punk rock. When she chooses to use her punk rock voice is what I'll call it for now. It's so incredible. And I remember when we went and saw them live back in, this is probably 2016, I was like, I was so shocked and impressed that she was able to perfectly recreate what we heard on the album live. Like her voice, I think, is what sells Hopalong to any like person who just goes and listens to them. It's her voice that is what's going to hook you. And
okay, I'm gonna stop you there. I have a hot take.
Uh-oh. Matt,
is Frances Quinlan the best vocalist in rock music now, and like, hear me out, of all time?
Matt, that is the hottest of takes, and
can I scorch the earth with that take?
I think you may have dropped a nuclear bomb on this podcast right now, and I cannot get behind that. I'm sorry.
But at least right now, would you say right now in whatever rock music is right now? I think she's my favorite voice, at least. Like, really,
beyond
delivery is beyond anything else
of any band, you would say
pure of any band currently relevant, that I would say is currently relevant.
Before I would say Laura Jane Grace of Against Me was one of my favorite voices.
Obviously great. Yeah. But I think just what Frances is able to do with her voice, like the way it goes up, it goes down, she whispers.
But yeah, you're right. There's nothing. There seems to be nothing that's out of her wheelhouse. Is what I would give her. It's like if she wants to be punk rock, she can do that. If she wants to be like beautiful and light and airy, she can be that too. There's no range that it seemingly she can't do. Maybe range wasn't.
It's so unique what she can do. I've never.
It's almost it's almost like undescribable, because you're like, oh yeah, she sounds like X, but it's like she sounds like X sometimes, she sounds like Y other times, and she sounds like Z in other places. It's not she's like, yeah, able to do so much with her voice, and it's excellent. And I do like your take there, Matt. I hadn't thought about it.
It's not bad, right? I mean, what? Like, so okay, we can talk about like Freddie Mercury, pretty good singer, all right?
Yeah.
What? Yeah, she's up there. She's up there. She's getting up there. I think in music right now, like modern rock music, whatever that is, I think she has to be. She's at least my favorite vocalist. I think she has to be one of the best vocalists right now. I think she has to be.
I was shown. Do you know who Ida Maria is, or the band? I don't know if it's a vocalist or the band.
Ida Maria,
Ida Maria.
No, I'm not.
I think that may just be the vocalist, or maybe the whole band. Excuse my ignorance. I've only heard her or them once, but check her out or them out. Okay. Similarly, vocally interesting. I was shown this the other weekend, and I was like, yeah, that does sound like Frances. But she is not. I wouldn't really call her that much. I don't know. Go listen to it. I can't really speak too much on it because like I said, I only have one listen of her or that band. But
okay,
I would say
Norwegian musician and songwriter.
Okay. Yeah,
I'll check her out.
Check her out. But yeah, I think as far as similar voices go, that's the most similar I've ever heard. But yeah, I'm going to continue to praise Frances for all she does. I love her voice, and it makes this band worth listening to, for sure.
Yeah, and actually, I would like to build on that real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think she is the forefront, like she is like the focus, and I think that comes through in this album actually, maybe more than some of the other ones, and we can talk about that a little bit more. But I would say that I agree with you that they're kind of more harder rock songs that are on Painted Shut actually let her vocals like shine through more, and I think that's part of the reason that I liked Painted Shut so much. Like I thought that album was incredible. I think part of the reason is because like her vocals is like at the forefront. Like there's the musicianship kind of behind it, and the music behind it is a little more simplistic, and like because it's so simple, it falls to the background. She shines through.
Yeah, she's in the mix. She's always, not that she's not on top in the latest album, but yeah, it's like really comes through there and really drives every song. But this one, I think that maybe they were experimenting with using more lush and varied production to to differentiate. Yeah, that's what sets. I think one of the main things that sets this album apart is the production, like the new types of instrumentation, the new like avenues they go down with songwriting and instrumentation. It's like it's significantly different than both Painted Shut and Get Disowned.
Yeah, and it's incredibly dynamic musically.
Oh, for sure.
It's super complex. Like the way one thing I was noticing is that when they go from like in like a standard song structure, you have like intro, verse, chorus, outro, something basic like that. And in some songs, they kind of have that kind of structure, but the way the music transitions between each one of those is like vastly different. It's almost like you could be listening to a different song. You know what I mean? Like in the intro, it's like a lo-fi, for example, in the song What the Writer Meant. It's just like this lo-fi acoustic recording. And then suddenly like it feels like cleaner and cleaner. Like clearly the production is changing. Like I think they recorded 2 versions and they just kind of switched it over, and then the drums come in, the guitars come in. It feels like a completely different song from where we started. It's just like they did a lot of that, and it's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And kind of, I think, to expound upon that even more, Frances's lyrics, I think, are the most poetic and cryptic they've ever been. And and going back to like her ability to really sing whatever the hell she wants, because she has such a crazy gift there. It's like she can write these really like I don't even call these lyrics. I think most of them are like legitimately just poetry. But she can change up her cadence so well, and draw out certain words or keep certain sentences really short and say a bunch of words quickly, that like it's like her cadence is so unique, and she can basically write this really cryptic, interesting poetry storytelling without having to follow the rules of like you were saying, standard lyrical structure of like verse, chorus, verse, bridge, outro, whatever. And she can have these really unique lyrics that she can actually carry and put into that the 4/4 or whatever time signature they're using, and make it all work. And that's one of the most incredible things about this album, is I didn't notice it until I sat down and read all the lyrics, and I was like, holy shit, like these are like she's saying some like, this is probably her best storytelling as far as as far as the past 3 albums go.
I think I would agree with that too. Mm-hmm. Do you want to like dive into the lyricism real quick?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think there's a lot in there. So
yeah, I would say
based on
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Okay, so based on what I read a couple interviews with Frances and Hopalong, and this is kind of like I have an interesting idea. This is kind of like on Painted Shut, there's a song called Powerful Man.
Yeah.
And the song is basically, what the title says it is. It's about this powerful man with a lot of influence. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the songs on this album are basically like deep dives into that idea.
Oh yeah. And that is the most common motif throughout this, for sure, is what I saw when reading the lyrics.
And I guess it's actually from their Bandcamp. Frances says, "So strange to be shaped by such strange men." It's a line that repeats on more than one song on the album.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about that a lot, that I just deferred to men throughout my life. So yeah, that's obviously the main theme that comes through lyrically.
Yeah.
But the way she weaves it in and out between songs and with different stories is like really clever. It's like, she really evokes, kind of what she's trying to get to in the heart of the issue without like force feeding anything. I think that's like kind of the sign of a brilliant lyricist, that you can get the idea without it being thrown directly in your face. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I would say like the first instance, maybe, I don't know if we see it in How Simple, but I think the first instance we see of that motif, or that theme of being like of being shaped by strange men, or like powerful men kind of having control of your life without any of your say in what you can do, is in the second track, Somewhere a Judge. And it's kind of about how this it's about, I don't know if you follow the news in Arkansas, they like rushed 8 executions because their lethal injection drug was going to expire in a short amount of time, so they had to kill a bunch of people quickly. And that song is kind of covers that topic. And she was saying, like this man, this judge, is just stretched out on a beach after he like ordered the execution of 8 people quickly. It's like these singular men just have such power in the world to basically do what they want, and they're kind of off, and like it's weird, like there's nothing you can really do about it. It's up to just one singular person shaping kind of our culture and the world and the discussion around these topics,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, I think you're right. Like in How Simple, we don't really get this, but almost in every other song, that theme kind of comes through.
Yeah.
And actually, since we're just talking about that song, Somewhere a Judge, I would say it also features my favorite lyrics, even though it's not related to the theme.
Uh-huh.
Afternoon, vanilla sun crawls away across the lawn.
Yeah.
Like, that imagery is gorgeous. And the way she sings it, it's like just like kind of dancey. I love that.
That's funny you say that, because I was saying one of my favorite lyrics is the one just after that, is through the phone I pull you and drag your voice around. Like I can just imagine that so well, of just like someone talking on the phone and sort of dancing around and pulling your voice like through the phone around her room or whatever. And and that's one of the things I noticed with this album is, or probably every Hopalong album, is she likes to describe. She's very good at describing the little details of life that you maybe don't think about too much. But yeah, she captures that so well in her songwriting.
Yeah, for sure.
And speaking of dancing, I don't want to get too far away, but just a little aside here. I think this may be the most dance heavy album that they've put out so far. Like, how simple is like a dance song? I didn't really think about it until I watched the music video, which I recommend everybody listening now to go watch this music video. It'll put a smile on your face. But yeah, it was like to see her dancing around to it. I was like, holy shit, yeah, this is a dance track for sure. And
not like a standard dance song, but you could definitely, you could feel it. It's, kind of like upbeat. You want to move around to it for sure.
Yeah. And I think like one that suits me, I noted, was also like a pretty, like the lyrics are a little morose, but like it's definitely kind of has a dancier beat for sure too.
Yeah, that's one of the things about this album. Like, it's so complex musically. Like you cannot put it in one.
Yeah,
genre,
and exactly. Like sure. When I got past like my sort of sadness that she had lost the hardness of her last album, that's when I like got over that and started appreciating the new things that they were doing. Like that's what elevated this album for me and made it such a great new thing.
Yeah, it's like everything is new. Every song is kind of bringing in some new genre influence. At least like everything is fresh. Yeah, that's one of the things. Like that's so hard to pull off though. Like if you really think about it, from a musician standpoint, that's so fucking hard to do. Like your influences, like what you have to be listening to, what you have to know and really understand musically, makes that so hard. That's what makes this album like really impressive for me, that they're able to pull it off like really well. That's like A+ just based on that. Like that's super impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you see bands getting stuck in that rut of like, let's say like the Strokes, they make the same album 3 times in a row. It's got to be so hard for, and not to bash on the Strokes, I love at least their first 2 albums, but like imagine having to like reinvent your sound every album to stay fresh, and also making it good and making it so that your old fans will still like it. It's a daunting proposition, but I think they like tackle it incredibly well here.
Yeah, I think they nailed it on this one. But that is like the age-old question. It's like, so do you want Jack White to keep making White Stripes, blues rock? Or do you want him to make, like his new album, which is completely different for him, but it's good. It's really good. Like, so how do you balance those things? How do you balance changing yourself completely versus, finding a sound and consistently delivering? Like, we both love the Menzingers. They're not really changing their sound, at least on the last 3 albums, very much, but they consistently deliver a great album. And we both love that aspect about them. And so I think what I'm trying to say is basically it works both ways. You could do it both ways if you do something cool and interesting and you make it great and really get into it and do it passionately. I think you can do it both ways, but it's just you have to feel the emotion either way.
Yeah, most definitely, and I think you brought in all good points there. Yeah, I didn't really think about that. The Menzingers, kind of put out similar albums each time, but we all love them regardless. And so it's not a slight on any band if you're kind of sticking in your wheelhouse, but I do really appreciate you're taking a big risk when you release an album that's so much different from what you've kind of conditioned your fans to be used to. And
I think that's a great point, that it's more of a risk. It's a bigger risk to do something different because you don't know how people are going to react to it, you know.
Yeah.
But if it's authentic, I think people can tell.
And for sure, and if anything, like, this album screams authenticity. Like, this album came from, like, love of music, I feel like. And I think anybody that has that similar love of music will enjoy this and eat this album up.
I believe that too.
Yeah.
And I think, so I actually read on Bandcamp, they did, the entire band hop along, picked some of their favorite albums that they're listening to right now.
Yeah.
And I just listened through some of those bands, and it is a lot of like really complex musical stuff. Like each song is kind of different, and you can hear the transition musically throughout an entire song. It's really dynamic.
Any standouts from that list that you can remember?
A Sheer Mag was on it, which is a band that's been blowing up recently. They have kind of this like older sound. Mag? Yes, SHEER space MAG.
Okay, Sheer Mag. Okay.
Sheer Mag. I think I'm saying it right.
Okay.
Good band name, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they were on there, and they've been kind of blowing up. They had a really good album. It wasn't, honestly, it just really wasn't my cup of tea, but it got a lot of eyes. Definitely, it was in the zeitgeist. And the other one that came through, for me at least, was Thou. They had, I just really loved their recent album, Heathen.
It's
the album Heathen
okay.
by Thou. Super like sludgy metal.
Okay, sweet.
It's really good. Yeah, you should check that one out, I think.
Yeah, no, I would love some. I need some new sludge metal in my life.
Yeah, but anyways, like basically, I can tell this is authentic to them just based on what. First of all, based on like the music that they created, but second of all, like it definitely matches, what they've been listening to and what they're into right now. I think that really came through for me, so that was really interesting.
All right. Cool. Any like favorite tracks off this album that you got?
But I would say, I don't want to say like super by far, but I think just the most exemplary track for me is Not Able.
And I agree. You changed my mind, and we had been discussing it a couple weeks ago, and yeah, I also agree with that. Not Able is a very, very good track.
It's incredible. Yeah. Like it's just really, it's catchy. It kind of, it's very dynamic. It transitions in the second half.
Yeah,
completely different. Even the lyrics. So the lyrics start as this story about Cain and Abel, and then and that first part is about like the kind of inner details of Cain and Abel. Like they were brothers, but we never got this story about a time that they were playing a game, and you never get like the details of their relationship, and it kind of just ends there, and then. In the second half of the song, we get this family imagery that's kind of more personal, it feels like. And it's like, obviously it's tying the two together, but it's really just, one of my favorite lyrics from that is, sunset on a cart pulled home by a white horse. And then, of course, it hits on the theme later on, strange to be shaped by
I think this is the first time we hear the utterance of that phrase, which shows up throughout the album. But yeah, I love this song too, and to get sort of also on the more technical aspects of it and how we were talking about, the way they evolved their sound with this album. It's not like country sounds are not wholly unheard of in a hop along song, but at the very start of this album, or at the very start of this track, we get classical guitar, we get slide guitar doing kind of a country thing, we get like lush strings in here too, all at the same time, and it's like this kind of stuff would never show up on their last album or their first album, and it's such a they push the production value so much in this, and that can be a dangerous territory, but they Hop Along pulls it off so well here, especially with this song. the production's so cool. And then when the like the chorus vocals kick in, and she kind of Frances is like singing backup vocals for herself, and it's like a goosebump moment. Like I don't know if you get this, but there are moments in a lot of music that like are just so affecting that like I get goosebumps when I listen to them, and this is one of those songs where like that chorus kicks in, the chorus like not the actual song's chorus, but like the sound of the background vocal chorus kicks in, and it's just like it just kind of elevates this song so well.
Yeah, and I think her vocals really stand out on this song.
Yeah, it comes in at the sunset on a cart, like you were saying. When she says sunset on a cart, and that's when like the song kind of like picks up a lot, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. And you're right, there's like a couple of things that you mentioned that they do kind of throughout. Like there's a lot of like kind of slide guitars, which is really interesting and different for them. And yeah, there's just a lot of different stuff that they do. I forget the other thing that I was going to say.
But yeah, this song has multiple movements, interesting production. Frances is at her best here, and the lyrics are, if you just read them, it reads like poetry. But when you hear them sung, Frances is able to make it sound like fit into like a standard sort of song structure. And it's impressive. As somebody who like strives to write better lyrics, this is like a master class, like reading what she can put together.
Yeah, it's really cool. What was your previously your favorite song?
My favorite previously on this album or overall?
No, on this album, like what stood out right away?
I think Look of Love. I like when I was just like on my first, like I think my second listen, when I was kind of not just like in the background listen, but like sitting down and listening to this, I thought Look of Love, the penultimate song, was like my favorite. I love a lot when it's just well, I guess to preface this, one of my favorite songs is Happy to See Me on Painted Shut, and that's just Frances with an acoustic guitar, essentially, with maybe a few other instrumentations going in, but it's essentially an acoustic song. And Look of Love starts out as that too, and I really love when like her voice is just backed up by like an acoustic guitar, and so like that kind of already set it up for me, and it's just kind of, you know, it's a similar to Not Able. Like it goes through multiple passages and it builds on itself much better than Happy to See Me does, which I think kind of remains static throughout. But this one builds up, then it kicks in new instrumentation, and then I guess I'll call it like the breakdown of the song, which kind of happens twice. Like is a similarly goosebump giving moment for me. So I do like Look of Love a lot.
I've actually, I like that one too a lot. I've actually been listening to Happy to See Me recently a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, this album kind of like reminded me of how good that song is. And but actually, it's funny that you mentioned the song because it reminded me of what I was going to say. Because there's some doubled vocals and backing vocals on Look of Love.
Yeah.
Which have you ever heard that on a Hop Along album before? I don't want to be wrong, but I don't know
doubled
if I
up
remember.
vocals. Yeah, I mean, I would have to listen to their older albums like with a fine-tooth comb to say for sure.
Yeah, but at least nothing stands out to me right away. Usually, it's just Frances singing by herself.
Yeah.
And on this album, like in quite a few songs, like she adds some backing vocals herself, and there was actually one other singer that they worked with on this song, I read.
Okay.
So that's really interesting.
And on
something new
on Somewhere a Judge, it sounds like she has a vocoder or some sort of digital manipulation on her voice, which is very unique for them too.
I don't remember them ever using a vocoder, sorry, but it definitely is on that song specifically during one of the choruses at the end, I believe. So they did a lot of different stuff on this,
and also on Look of Love. I think it is important to point out that the lyrics are kind of the eponymous lyrics of the album title, where this is actually where you kind of hear the lyrics of "Bark Your Head Off, Dog" essentially show up in this song. Right. And I really like her the imagery that she creates of this dog Romeo, not being able to stop like barking and chasing speeding cars is it's not like that much of a complex situation, but the way that she puts it together and sings it and the cadence and everything is sorry, there's an ambulance going by right now.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be an FTMB podcast without an ambulance siren.
Yeah, there's always
going on in the back.
Yeah, that's how you know this is raw, people.
Yeah.
We're just a cheap little production here, just DIY from my loud ass room. But yeah, where was I? Yeah, it's just the way she can like tell a story about this dog is really impressive to me.
So while we're on the topic of lyrics, still kind of, I have a question. Would you say this is their most political album? Because you mentioned already the Arkansas thing. There's a few other examples of that. Would you agree or disagree?
I would definitely say most political album, but I wouldn't say that this album is overly political in nature, unless you consider I think it has and it maybe has notes of like, obviously has notes of like feminism and kind of being a woman and having no, like, being powerless against men in society essentially. So if you consider that political, then yes, I would consider this a political album, because we did talk about before how a lot of the motifs and imagery are about being shaped by men without your, control over it. But yeah, there are definitely, I think the only, maybe you can add to this, Matt, but the main, the two main political things that I caught on to were Somewhere a Judge, which we talked about before, and then the one about the Moab bomb being dropped for the first time. Yeah, it's the one that suits me. Was kind of about creating.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, creating like a scientist creating bombs and them being used. Essentially,
I think those are the two specific examples. But basically, I would agree with you 100% on what you said.
And like,
I think
these men are only are, I guess, kind of tying the two together. It's like these men are only concerned with a piece that suits them. Is one of the main reprises in this song, is like one that suits me. Like, I'm for peace, but only one that suits my needs. So,
right.
I mean, I would say that this is definitely is a more political album than the last couple, which I think we're seeing a lot in this day and age.
I would say that's definitely a trend in 2018, where bands have had some time since in the past couple of years to kind of process some things. Now it's coming out in the music. So,
and I love it. So I think like I'm just gonna say that this was triggered, basically, like a lot of the political movements and songs were triggered by Trump being elected, and I think a lot of the ones that came out like immediately after that happened were kind of cringy. Like not well thought out, and we're kind of a knee-jerk reaction, and we're like throwaway singles that artists put out to kind of get some airtime or whatever. But I like these. It
kind of felt like pandering.
Definitely pandering is a great term for it. And these albums like are coming out a couple years later that deal with politics. Like you said, they've had some time to think about it, and I think they put it together and put it out there in like a way that's not pandering, in a way that is intelligent and like thought-provoking. So I do appreciate that about this album.
This one by Hop Along, and of course the one that we previously reviewed, Post by Jeff Rosenstock, I think are very similar in that way, where it's like, okay, like, like some weird, crazy, bad stuff is happening, but how do I process this? Like, and I kind of like fall back to Jeff's lyrics, like, how can you figure out the problems in the world when you can't even figure out the ones in your head?
Yeah.
Like all those kind of complexities are when those are coming out in the music now. And I think that's what makes it so important and so relevant is that it's kind of dealing with the complexity and the difficulty in the moment. It feels more real. It feels more raw for that reason, at least for me.
For sure. And I think if anybody is between the age of like 22 and maybe 35, these are all lyrics that are pertinent to our lives, essentially, and figuring shit out. Where do we fit in the world? How do we figure out both internal and external issues? So yeah, these are great albums for our generation, really.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have any other points, any other songs that we didn't get to that you want to talk about?
No, I think I really said everything I wanted to say. I think there's maybe only, I wouldn't even call it a low point in the album, but How You Got Your Limp is probably my least favorite song, but it's still a very strong song. And the lyrics themselves are incredibly powerful, but I think without reading them, it may come off as a little static of a track. But like, I do think overall there's no stinkers on this album. Like it's incredible. I've been listening to it a ton lately, not even just for this podcast, but like just throughout my life, because it's more dancey. It's a great album to kind of listen to now that it's becoming spring finally. And I think it's a great step, a great evolution for Hop Along. They're on tour now. Go see them if you get the chance to. They will be here in Columbus in mid-May, and I'm super stoked for that.
Nice.
Frances is great. I mean, the whole band is great live, but like, me and Matt saw them back in 2016, and we were shocked just how incredible Frances' voice was live as well. Girl can sing. And
it's unbelievable.
Go out and support that band. Go out and buy their album, see them live. They're incredible.
Yeah, for sure.
Read their or listen to their back catalog. I can't really say enough good shit about this band. I love them.
Yeah. Can I do one super minor critique?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think they could have been a little more creative with the album title and song titles. That's all I have.
That's an interesting criticism.
I just think some of the song titles are not very memorable. I'm not going to remember. It's hard for me to remember them.
That's an interesting thing you brought up because before we started recording this to our audience, I was talking to Matt about how we wanted to structure this, and I was like I can't, going track by track will be kind of hard for this because, like you were saying, the track titles aren't, if somebody were like, oh, you know that song, The Fox in Motion, I'd have to be like, let me put it on again so I remember which one that was.
I can't remember any of the songs just by the title.
Except for, Not Able.
I can't remember, except for,
And How Simple, yeah.
Yeah, those two stand out, but those are it. So that's my one critique. That's all I had.
That's interesting. Excellent. I never really thought about how important it is, and I thought it was a fault of my own, that I couldn't remember the song names. But yeah, you're right. If other people have that same issue, then that is a critique. But yeah.
Hey, Appledore, next time why don't you put a little more.
I give this album a 2 out of 10 because I can't remember it.
2 out of 10. I can't remember any of the songs. Get the fuck out of here.
Yep. Number one worst album. Bad songs.
Number one worst album of all time.
All
What's
right.
the name of the band again? I can't remember.
All right.
No. Awesome work by Hop Along.
Yeah, good job, Hop Along.
So,
hopefully you'll still be.
Anything else for Hop Along? Yeah, obviously buy this album.
Yeah.
Buy their. They have an LP, right? They put out a vinyl for this, I believe.
I think so.
Did you get that?
I did not, but I was just thinking about buying all 3 of their LPs. So.
Yeah, I have 2 LPs. Yeah, they do have a vinyl LP. I just bought the digital since I'm here in Spain.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely go to my local record store and buy this vinyl.
Go to your local record store and buy this album. Support both your local music industry and this band.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Let's plug a little bit. Let's plug ourselves here. Matt has been on the Twitter grind. He's been grinding it out on Twitter. So go check us out at FTMB_podcast. Is that us, Matt?
Yep.
You should pitch it because you're the Twitter guru here.
Yeah, at FTMB_podcast. I've been tweeting about on Fridays. I tweet about some songs that I've been listening to, discovering about every other Fridays. How often I'm trying to do it, but then I'll just pitch in whenever there's like music news coming up. So check us out there. And I also try to do monthly album reviews. I don't know what I'm going to do for April, but probably about the first week of May, I'll try to get something up there. It's something that came out this month. I don't know what it'll be, but I'll figure that out. The last one I did was the album Clean by Soccer Mommy. And if you haven't listened to that one, it's really fucking good.
Do you do album reviews of albums that came out that month, or of just albums that you're listening to?
So I wait for the entire month to go through. For example, I'll wait for April to run through. I'll pick an album from April, and then I'll review it. My album review will come out in May for the month of April. Does that make sense?
It does. And you just gave me an idea because I've been slacking on my writing, but you gave me a good idea for maybe my own little series on the website. I won't discuss it here, but we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Sweet. Yeah. So yeah, check us out on our website, ftmbpodcast.com. Check us out on Twitter. You're obviously listening to the podcast right now, so you know where to find the podcast. But yeah, I think that's it for today.
Yeah, FTMB out.
FTMB out, y'all.